friends, NRI Samay is a non-profit independent alternate media from Los Angeles, USA, which brings positive stories from grassroots activists from all corners of India and across the world. NRI Samay does not rely on corporate funding and our shows are commercial free. We only rely on your donations. Corporate funded media is driven by the TRP rating, and profits are blurring the distinction between news and entertainment. Why do our news channels talk so much about cricket, movies, accidents, popular figures' personal lives, babies of heroines, gossips, etc., while they should be covering the struggles of people, inequality in our society, rural issues, and border security issues? Why did our media raise some corruption crusaders to the sky on one day and shut them off completely when graft charges were raised on those corporate sponsors? Media relies so much on the corporate funding and government blessings that they cannot report independently. NRI Samay is different. We don't accept funds from any corporations and hence our shows are commercial free. We completely rely on donations from you. Please consider donating to NRI Samay and please go to nrisamay.com and donate generously. This is the only way together that we can continue NRI Samay. All donations are kept transparent on nrisamay.com. And if you have any questions, please write to nrisamay@gmail.com. friends. NRI Samay is a non-profit independent alternate media from Los Angeles, USA, which brings positive stories from grassroots activists from all corners of India and across the world. Among others, we focus on stories of need for equality, inspiration, environment, health, and politics. NRI Samay does not rely on corporate funding, and thus our shows are commercial free. We only rely on your donations. Please consider donating to NRI Samay, and all donations are kept transparent on nrisamay.com. Friends, today's NRI Samay program from Los Angeles brought to you commercial free by listeners like you. Your generous donations make possible for us to stay commercial free, and today's show is pre-recorded. If you have a question for the guest, please send an email to nrisamay@gmail.com. We will follow up with the guest and find the answer for you. Thank you for your support.
Hello friends, welcome to NRS Samay. I hope each one of you are having a wonderful weekend, and those in US are enjoying the long weekend. My name is Srikant, the host for today's show, and this week we at NRS Samay are trying to bring out something important, something that's forgotten, and something that is relevant even after 65 years of independence: the Gandhian philosophy and its relevance. Mahatma Gandhi once said, "I have nothing new to teach the world. Truth and non-violence are as old as the hills." Although the political landscape of India may have changed dramatically since the years of Gandhi, his example and leadership provides important lessons for each one of us. Aren't there better ways to solve conflict? Why do we rely on violence as our first and sometimes the only answer? The state and people of India are a product of what Gandhi did many years ago. Without Gandhi, I personally have no idea what type of a country India would ever be. Many of his followers still preach his cause, and many people today live the life that he wanted to live. Gandhi will be relevant until the day that India stops being a country, and this is what majority of people feel still in their hearts. The effect of Gandhi had on India and the rest of the world is profound. And I don't think anybody would ever say that he is no longer relevant to India, much less no longer relevant to the rest of the world. There's a lot to learn from him for sure. And today we'd like to unleash what Gandhi is all about and what his philosophy is all about and how relevant it is to the modern world or even the postmodern world. For me personally, Gandhian principles still work in India, and the recent Anna Hazare, who used satyagraha in its most purest form to get the government to act against corruption, is one such great example. No bloodshed, no violence. Anna Hazare brought almost the entire country onto one single page to fight against the corruption. To bring out additional clarity on this subject and talk more about the relevance of Gandhian philosophy in the postmodern world, we have with us Prasad Gollanapalli garu, popularly known as Sarvodaya Prasad, with us to talk about this. He's a Gandhian scholar and also an active member of the Gandhian organizations and Sarvodaya movement in India. And he looks after the training and international relations division of Sarvaseva Sangh, the apex Gandhian organization in India, also the general secretary of Andhra Pradesh Sarvodaya Mandal at Hyderabad. Prasad also he has extensively toured the United States and co-taught a course on Gandhi King and non-violence in Stanford University. He is a visiting Gandhian scholar and professor at University of Nebraska at Omaha earlier. So the University of Rhode Island recognized and honored him as honorary Kingian non-violence advocate for promoting global peace and non-violence education and building a worldwide beloved community. He is also relentlessly working for Sarvodaya social order, a society based on truth and non-violence, and build bonds between peace organizations around the world to promote peace in a just.
So Prasad garu, in this post-modern world, and after 65 years of independence, and you being a man who advocated the Gandhian philosophies full-time for more than 25 years, how relevant do you think are Gandhian principles and philosophy?
Okay. In fact, I would like to ask a question before we look at the relevance of Gandhian principles today.
Sure.
What are those principles? And are we relevant to those principles?
Okay.
Because every society will have its own values. Every society, whatever values it is.
Right.
It can be a capitalistic mode. It can be a socialistic mode. It can be a religious mode. So different ideas, different policies, principles, values guide every society.
Right.
What Gandhi visualized was that we should build a society on the foundations of truth and non-violence.
Okay.
And again he said, there is nothing new I taught this world. Truth and non-violence are as old as the hills. With a lot of humility he said that. So here, rather than calling them Gandhian principles, I would like to call them as eternal principles of truth and non-violence. So the question is, are they relevant for us or not? Should I say that I would like to go or lead a path of truth, a path of non-violence? So what should be my relationship with other human beings? So shall I have truth as my relationship? Shall I have non-violence as my relationship? That is the question. If we say yes, in our society we see these values, then I would say Gandhi is relevant. Point number one. Now let me elaborate. So when I say truth and non-violence, let me slightly elaborate on that.
Okay.
When Gandhi talked about a non-violent social order, it is a non-exploitative social order. A society free from exploitation, free from violence, free from hatred, free from divisions, free from environmental degradation, which means every human being is enlightened to know and follow in his own lifestyle what he should do and what he should not do. So it is this limits to his or her existence, understanding the limits to the existence. It is that enlightenment which is essential in the society. That's what Gandhi talked about. So today we have gone to various patterns wherein there is enormous amount of corruption in our society.
Right.
Enormous amount of violence in the society. be it in the name of religion, in the name of caste, in the name of language, in the name of regions. We started fighting amongst ourselves, which means the basic issues of the welfare of all, they have been relegated to an insignificant position. So Gandhi's proposal, his proposition, is Sarvodaya, the welfare of all. So when we talk about the welfare of all human beings, it presupposes, or the foundation of Sarvodaya is equality of all. All human beings are equal. We are all equal by birth. Because I have not chosen my birth. I have not chosen my parents. I have not chosen to be born in a specific country. I have not chosen to be born as a man or as a woman. Therefore, my birth, when it is not out of my own choice, how do you hold me responsible saying that you belong to so-and-so caste, so-and-so religion, so-and-so language? So these identities should not create any inequalities. So the fundamental principle of Sarvodaya, the Gandhi's philosophy, is the equality of all people and the welfare of all people. And this Sarvodaya involves not only the welfare of the human beings, but also of the subhuman world, welfare of animals, welfare of birds, welfare of all living beings. And it is not only the welfare of all the living, what about the non-living, like the rocks, like the rivers or the oceans? So can I pollute the rivers? Can I cut the forest? Can I destroy the rocks, the beauty of the environment or the nature? So our understanding is that as a man comes onto this planet Earth to live maybe for about 50 years, 60 or 100 years, how should I live during this period of time? What I should do and what I should not do. It is this awakening that Gandhi was insisting, that awareness. So this is what he called Swaraj.
Okay.
Self-rule, Swaraj. Swa is self, rule is to rule myself. Raj means rule, to rule myself. So self-rule.
Right.
Self-control, that I should control myself because I do get a lot of passions. So I should have self-control, control the mind, and mind is the place where a lot of passions come. Therefore, control the passions, passions of greed, passions of superiority, passions of exploitation. So how do I control myself from all these passions? Now, that he called Swaraj. That's where he again said, live simply so that others may simply live. We may create structures. We may create justification that why I can amass wealth. There are justifications.
Right.
But all the justifications cannot convince us that this is legitimate. Some people having enormous wealth and some people living in abject poverty is something which will lead to strife, to tensions, to violence. Right. Therefore, Gandhi's prescription is that the Mother Earth has enough to meet the needs of everyone, but not for the greed of anyone. Therefore, it is this enlightenment, it is this awareness, it is the lifestyle based on this awareness and enlightenment that the Sarvodaya movement works to create a non-violent social order. That's how I put it.
Excellent ways of putting it, sir. Sir, now when we see, if we take this timeline of 65 years after independence, we, of course, we are very lucky that our guiding forefathers have been somebody like Gandhi. Not every country has got that leverage, right? So
yes,
we see a phase shift from principles to money guiding our lives. You know, that phase shift has happened. After 65 years of independence, after the independence, the first batch of all these people who were the lawmakers were definitely guided by principles. Now everything is being guided by money. So do you think you would ever see a phase shift again back to Gandhian philosophy or principles or whatever it is, again going back to our core ethics of what our guiding forefathers have brought us to? Do you think so, sir?
You are asking me a question, whether it will happen.
Yes.
My answer would be, if it doesn't happen, what would happen? You know that.
Right.
The kind of tensions we are having, the kind of problems if you take agriculture.
Right.
You talked about money having entered the minds of people. Our culture, our lifestyle, our thinking is more on money, as you're saying. I'll take an example of farming, agriculture. So in agriculture, what had been our founding principles? We say Bhumata, Mother Earth. We say Gaumata, Mother Cow. Atidhi Devo Bhava. The guest is an unknown person, is my God. So, what does it mean? The farmer says, oh mother, I toil, I work, I serve you, and whatever you give me in return, I am contented with that. Not greedy. I don't expect something. I don't want to extract something from Mother Earth. So this particular statement of Mother Earth, Bhumata, it contains in itself perhaps the greatest wisdom. There is surrender in that. There is humility in that. There is an understanding that I should not go for tension in that. There is an understanding that this universe is on the side of justice. When I work hard, naturally, the nature will be on my side. I will not be denied my existence, my livelihood, my survival. So it is this confidence with which the society is built. So money is an invention which had not been existing for too long a time. So the moment the farmer has gone into monetary form of agriculture, or I would even call it the farmer had been engaged in non-violent agriculture. Now he has shifted to a violent agriculture. He is using insecticide, pesticide, etc.
Right.
Even you have gone for dwarf varieties which deny fodder to the animals.
Right.
So earlier the agriculture was based on live and let live. I should live, the human being should live, and the animals also should live. So the entire concept was based on that kind of a mechanism. But now, live and let die, from live and let live, what had been the principle of agriculture, now it is live and let die. Let the animals die, I don't care. Even if I do not get the compost manure from the animals, I don't mind. I'll go for chemical manures or chemical fertilizers. So when farmers, the agriculture has shifted from non-violent agriculture to violent agriculture, independent agriculture to dependent agriculture on the market systems, from a non-monetary agriculture, because there was no money involved, whether it is for seeds or manures or crop protection devices. Farmer was using Gaumutra, that is the cow urine, as a pest repellent. So he had his own techniques. And the agriculture gave him all happiness, because all festivals are part of agriculture. All dance, music, drama, everything is linked to the land. So from such a wonderful lifestyle, we tempted him. He said you should make money out of land, out of agriculture, which is not possible. There is a limit. And if you want to draw more than what the limit permits, then it will boomerang.
Right.
In fact, the very base or the essence is, once it is like a story of the goose laying golden eggs. We know the story.
Right.
It gives you one golden egg every day. Be contented with that. The moment you say no, it must be having so many golden eggs inside its stomach, so I should get them.
Right.
And you kill goose, and the farmer cries, and that's what it is today. Today's societal situation or the economic situation like that.
Right.
Therefore, back to nature. Go to basics. This is what Gandhi proposed. So whether it is today or tomorrow, any day, I would like to call them eternal principles rather than merely Gandhian principles. Maybe Gandhi reiterated them. So, the money economy, how it is collapsing, you are able to see.
Right.
Like in the United States, the way in which the corporate sector crumbled or the banks faced the liquidation. Same is the case with India.
Right.
Therefore, while we use money as perhaps a necessary evil, putting the entire phenomenon on money, saying money is everything, and perhaps we will damage the very fabric, both the mental fabric, the moral fabric will be damaged. Therefore, if we had been taught to make more money or to see more happiness in money, which is not true, a point of time comes where there is more and more frustration, and then there is a situation of inevitability. The question is, do you wait till that point of inevitability, or wisdom prevents you from going in the direction, say that no, this is not going to help me, so I have to take an alternative and get back.
Right.
So this is a challenge, especially in front of the leaders, those who guide the society, those who provide the kind of values on which the society must go, the direction for the society. It is their responsibility to enlighten, to awaken the people as to their own responsibilities. And once you remove that, what is that guiding principle? If you remove that, the people and the society will go into dangerous patterns wherein a man will be an enemy of another man. He'll be more a threat to another man than being a supporter, mutual supporters. We become competitors and we become mutual enemies. So what kind of society are we looking for? So it is on that, this entire discussion, what is relevant, what should be done, will be depending.
Right. Very true. And sir, you've brought in some excellent points. That every society or every group has got some principles, and that is every no matter whether it is a religious group or a socialistic group or it is a capitalistic group, they all are driven by some basic principles.
Right.
And also you brought up an excellent point that Gandhian philosophy is all about non-exploitative, non-violent, non-divisive. You brought in some good points. Now we see all these social groups, they're all created for some purpose, sir. Most of them other than service to society, right? It's created for some specific purpose. And Gandhi did not find, Gandhi's principles do not find any value in these social groups. So what do you think is missing? Why this basic Gandhian outset is not found in all these groups, and what needs to be done, sir?
Do you mean that the kind of, when you say social groups, You mean the divisions within society and each group working for their own interests?
Yes, very much that is the
Very
question.
good,
Sir.
very good. Gandhi rejected that model.
Okay.
Even when he talked about religion, for example, he said, I am a Sanatana Hindu. Because that's the religion I was born, and whatever principles I need as a way of life, I get from that religion. And these principles are available in every single religion, which means every person who is born into their respective religions can pursue those philosophical, moral points. For him, religion is a moral conduct. Now, he never organized people on the label of religion. He never converted people. So he never organized any caste groups. So he organized Indians on a national basis. And again, that national basis is not with any kind of hatred against anybody else. So Gandhi's nationalism is a broader nationalism than the chauvinistic pattern, where there is an element of hatred. So Gandhi, for us, basically does not want this kind of divisions within the society, because these divisions, each one will develop an identity, and they would like to strengthen that identity, work for their identity, and in this process, they would enter into conflicting relations with other groups. So an element of disagreement, an element of hatred, element of conflict, they would arise when it is this kind of social groups. Supposing each group in a positive way works for the welfare or for the benefit of that group, because each individual can realize that I can't serve the whole of humanity, I would like to work for a small group, and if this service is with love, with non-violence, with empathy, with respect for others, with that mutuality, that will not harm. So there can be as many social groups as possible. But when we say social groups, if one is against another, there is a problem. So Gandhian approach is much broader, like Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, there is the whole world is one. So he even said that if the British serve India, I welcome them to be here. So he was not against the British people. He was against the British exploitation of the Indian society.
Right. Right. Very true. So now one question that really bogs me is, at least in the past 15, 20 years, my childhood, I read a lot about Gandhi, right? Mm-hmm. Now, the recent episode of Priyanka Chopra, the Bollywood heroine, finding place in the 5th class school syllabus of the CBSE affiliated schools, and that too as a very first chapter, the Springsdale School, which is based in Delhi and affiliated to CBSE board, which has got its branches all over India and abroad. There is a special chapter of Priyanka Chopra in the environmental studies of this class 5th subject. I was surprised when I hear you talking about such unbelievable, amazing principles, and now we taking a drift from the core values that we wanted to imbibe in the youngsters to imbibing in youngsters about fashion, about Bollywood heroines. So how in this world can we really change this mindset of people? Because young people are now spammed with cricket, they're spammed with Bollywood movies, and how in the world, because you have spent 25 odd years in this whole process, I was wondering what comes to your mind when you hear about such stories and you propagating the principles of Gandhi?
This is something which is not difficult to understand. Mm-hmm. But in the process, you are asking a very fundamental question. And you are more concerned about the drift. Why this drift has taken place? Why things are going the wrong direction? When the direction was available, if the society did not have the direction, then it's not a question. When a society having had its own direction, why did it lose the direction?
Right.
So where exactly things went wrong? This is something that can be understood. In fact, if we again go back to Gandhi and what he had been doing, he had been working for the independence from the British rule. But at the same time, his concern was also to build a society, as I said, on the principles of truth and nonviolence.
Right.
So this had been a simultaneous process. But then what happened? He had to focus. He had to spend more time on the independence efforts.
Right.
And at the time of the movement itself, he proposed 11 vows. That is to make a person a good human being.
Right.
And he proposed 18-point constructive program. That is to create a better society. So his work was equally, perhaps even more, on creating a better society. Then at the time of independence, it was called transfer of power. Not transformation of society. A system is existing, a power system is existing. It had been under the control of the British. This will now get passed on to a group of Indians. But Gandhi's work had been for creating a new social order. He said a country which was under the British yoke for over 200 years, 200 long years, because the British used the mechanism of dwarfing the Indian mind. Even today, by default, you can see that we feel that a white person is superior to a brown person, even psychologically.
Right.
So we have accepted the superiority of the white people. So the 200 years of British rule dwarfed the Indian mind. They damaged our own thinking, our agriculture, our education system, our medical system. So they knew pretty well a society with greater value base and which has advanced much long before than Europe did cannot be enslaved unless we destroy their very basic philosophical base and the systems based on that philosophical base, like agriculture, education, and the medical systems. And I would feel that they succeeded in the process. And in 1947, what happened was just transfer of power. So an exploitative structure which they created, it remained the same. It just went from those people into the hands of the Indians.
Oh, okay.
Without any kind of a value base.
Okay.
And Gandhi would have fought that even after independence. But he lived hardly for 5 months after independence. And there had been that kind of signals that when G.D. Birla said, Bapu, you have become very old, you are tired, you are so exhausted, you have spent all your life and energy into this. Now you must take rest. And Gandhi said, rest for me? I have to fight you, the capitalists, from your exploitation. So he was living in Birla House in Delhi at the time. So Gandhi had a clear pattern of a futuristic vision for India and what to do about that.
Okay.
But the Gandhi's followers did not look at that. I would even say that they did not even understand the Gandhi's vision.
Okay.
They needed Gandhi more for getting independence from the British rule because Gandhi's charisma was so fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So he was able to mesmerize the masses. He was a mass leader. And the other leaders of independence movement, they did not take Gandhi for his basic values, but his charisma and the capability to handle the independence movement. So you got independence in the process without that the Gandhian value-based society. I would call it a tragedy that this society, our Indian society, lost the benefit of the great vision of the Mahatma.
Mm-hmm.
And in 1948, January, one day before his assassination, he wrote a piece of document called the Last Will or Testament, wherein Gandhi declared, India has won political independence, but it is yet to attain economic, social, and moral independence, which are less spectacular and much harder to attain. And he said we should disband the Congress party, convert that into a Lok Sevak Sangh for attaining those freedoms.
Mm-hmm.
So this the suggestion of Gandhi that we need to work for rejuvenating society on a value base, it existed.
Mm-hmm.
But we did not go on the Gandhian lines, but we have chosen mega industries, centralization, planning, trickle-down theories and things like that. And the disparities between the rich and poor widened. And the kind of policies have also developed an emerging middle class, which has now consolidated. What you're asking is, why is it so strong today? Because the middle class consolidated. What is the middle class? They don't clean their plates. They don't wash their clothes. They don't produce their own food.
Right.
So what happens is, when I don't do any real fundamental productive work, but what work I do is some kind of a manipulation, I would like to call it.
Right.
But if you think that you are a middle class person, it's a prick what is being said. But if you are able to look at the reality, why should a farmer earn only so much of money, and what right do I have to earn 1,000 times more than what the normal Indian farmer earns? So we would like to shut ourselves from those questions because they are not comfortable. And you ask the question why the society is going away from Gandhi. Because Gandhi challenges. Gandhi confronts even today. But he himself said long back. He said, so long as my faith burns bright, I hope it shall, even if I stand alone, I shall be alive in the grave. And what is more, speaking for us. He prophesied that he would challenge. That's what he is doing even today.
Right.
So today's policymakers who go by convenience rather than conviction and my benefit at the cost of others' benefit, when that has become the policy, and when that has become acceptable, then we always take support of survival of the fittest, the mighty is right. These are not true. So in some circumstances that happens, but you are a human being endowed with a greater wisdom.
Right.
How do you use that wisdom? Is it for your benefit, for your welfare, through your manipulative devices and practices?
Right.
Or do you say that, yes, my wisdom, my capabilities, my technology, my advancement, I want to use for the benefit of mankind?
Right.
So the question is, am I for the mankind or am I for myself? So when it is I am for myself, then you form a small group around that. So selfish interest, group interest. And this group can be one nation against another nation. So Gandhi did talk about these things. So the national feeling, sometimes it will be like a nation he even called, if you get into imperialistic mode, you become a band of robbers than robbing other countries and other nations. That's not what is desirable.
Right, right. And
so can I be happy? Can I be contented? So it is that kind of basic thing Gandhi proposed. Yeah.
Right. And you have closely watched this India against corruption movement, and almost everyone equated it to second freedom struggle, which I also equated it a couple of times when we were doing Dandi March here and other things. That there was a sense of people again feeling that vibes of Anna Hazare pulling a broader support and culmination of all these activists or good people asking them to fight against corruption. How do you think that movement has again really made some sense and also brought in relevance to this? Because the reason why I could find somebody like Prasad Garu and even talking about Gandhian principles is because I was looking out for somebody who was working actively with Anna Hazare movement, and also you brought in Anna Hazare to Hyderabad for Janatantra Morcha. And I'm trying to relate, do you really see that sense that has seeped in? And then, with all this broader people who know how to snub movements has died down, what do you think about this new movement that came in, sir? Hello?
Yes.
Yeah. So my question was, sir, you have seen this Anna Hazare movement and India Against Corruption movement very closely. And people were comparing it to second freedom struggle, right? They were almost feeling like they were fighting for a great cause after so many years. I know Lok Nayak Jayaprakash movements came in after in that emergency time and other things. But the recent movement after 30 years, had brought in all these activists and forces together. Did you get a sense that this basic movement will help propagate, again, bring this ideology of Gandhian philosophy? Did you feel that, sir?
I would say this movement has given a great hope to the Indian nation, especially the youth, the urban people. So we want to create a better society. Okay. We want to work for a better society. And a simple, spiritual, great man like Anna Hazare, when he is leading this movement, they thought, yes, this kind of change would be possible. And this movement, when it was in the media, when Anna was undertaking the fast, a lot of people came onto the streets. Tremendous response was there.
Right.
Now, this response, I think it is one of the great opportunities for the society. This should be converted into a solid base for such a transformatory movement or for a second freedom struggle. Now, what I would expect is how do you prepare a cadre of people?
Right.
And this moment, while a lot of people have come onto the streets, there is a need to convert those interested, enthused people into a very solid, well-informed cadre, well-trained cadre. Gandhi used this technique for all his satyagraha, whether it is the Dandi you talked about, the later Quit India movement, and the earlier non-cooperation movement of 1990s, 1919 and around that time, or the much earlier South African movement. He established ashrams. He established a Phoenix settlement in South Africa, and the Tolstoy formed there, Sabarmati Ashram near Ahmedabad, and Sevagram near Nagpur, Maharashtra. So these ashrams served as training centers or the places where this sadhana can go on. The people can practice a spiritual process. So Anna's movement also needs to build in a very solid and in a long-term basis. These movements cannot be held or cannot work in a short-term period. Gandhi could sustain his movement for 20 years in South Africa. He could sustain it for about 30 plus years in India. Almost 50 long years he was able to sustain a movement. What is it that gave him the strength to sustain a movement for that long period of time?
Right.
What are the elements? What techniques has he adopted, utilized? How did he communicate? His communication was to the heart of people, not just the mind of the people, not just to the intellect. So at a call given by Gandhi, people were willing to give all theirs, whether it is wealth, their knowledge, or even life. Going to a jail was welcome for most of the people. How did Gandhi achieve that?
Right.
So we need to bring in those elements into this Anna's movement, strengthen it, and work towards a long-term transformation of the society.
And do you think Anna's movement it's just on the process of making another big one going forward, sir, or do you think it has slowed down a bit? What's the sense you get, sir?
Anna is conscious of all these things, whatever we are discussing.
Okay.
His basic premise is sacrifice. One has to sacrifice.
Okay.
It is like that seed which sacrifices itself gets destroyed in the process and gives birth to a crop. So we need that kind of seed-like individuals who are willing to sacrifice themselves for the society.
Right.
Then service. His second component is service. We should do seva, service to people, service to neighbors.
Right.
And in the process, this is like a sadhana that Gandhi talked about.
Right.
Gandhi talked about service. In fact, he said serving the people developed into a passion, he said, for himself.
Right.
Then he also talks about the Gram Swaraj, self-reliant villages.
Right.
This is where the Gandhian concept of simplicity, natural farming, yoga, nature cure, khadi, that is the Swadeshi, Swadeshi, the spirit of Swadeshi.
Right.
These things are again at the core of the movement.
Right.
So he is now working on developing a cadre for the movement.
Okay.
So it is on those lines.
Okay. And it's still, and you still feel that it's not yet over, and it's still going to take shape in the coming days, right?
Yeah, it's a process. It's a process. It is on, and
Okay.
all of you, all of us, have to strengthen it. Strengthen this process.
Right. Right.
It is very, very important.
Right. Sir, now my question is, a lot of NRIs, I'm not sure if you're aware of it, when the Anna movement was at its height, when we called for the support groups here to support the movement, IAC movement, we have received overwhelming response. Over 1,000 people came in on streets here.
Yes.
So, sir, my sense of it is, because you work very closely with this movement, and also you were also the one who brought in Anna Hazare to Hyderabad. Do you think you can make such a thing happen in the United States? Do you think you can build such a broader section of people who can who can take the principles forward and also strengthen the Anna's movement, because that's something that's giving hope to a bunch of people around the world, right? So what do you think about that, sir?
I would think there's a great possibility in that. There's a great possibility. Because the best brains have come to US. 1 second.
Right.
So it is. I have a great hope on the NRIs, the young people here in the United States, to organize and strengthen these movements. Because maybe people like us, we are stuck at certain levels or certain points.
Right.
Perhaps you can bring in those elements where we are stuck, where we are less competent.
Right.
Like what we say, we should become complementary to one another, support and strengthen one another.
Right.
So it is that kind of a process we should take, and I am very sure with the solid support of the NRIs, especially the young element here, with so much of devotion and dedication which I have observed for a long time.
True. Yeah.
This change can happen. In fact, sometime back I have written an article in a magazine published in the United States, and on NRIs I said I look for the kind of value system that you're developing yourself upon to bring that kind of a value system and support or create a better society or support the process of better society in India. So this has to be a very solid, sustained, long-term working relationship. Because this kind of long-term movements cannot show short-term results that sometimes we may not see much result like.
Right.
And this happened even in the case of Gandhian movements. So we should understand how the process takes place, and our devotion and dedication for a cause should be on a long-term basis.
Right.
So if you look at sometimes a movement is not catching up much, or sometimes there is a slightly lull period or something like that, that should not deter us.
Right.
Because we should understand in the people's movements, these ups and downs sometimes happen. So what is the mechanism in which we understand those processes? So I would advise and I would suggest that we should work for strengthening this movement on a long-term basis.
Excellent. Perfect. Sir, really thank you very much. I think it's a solid 45 minutes, and this conversation is open-ended because anything that we talk about Gandhi is not a 45 minutes deal. But I'm sure that we'll have to loop back with you again and again and again to really bring in the perspectives of how we can basically apply these principles, the Gandhian principles and the philosophy, moving forward, and then how it can be applied to either a charity or an NGO or a political forums out there. So I really thank you giving us 45 minutes of your time, and really appreciate your time, sir.
In fact, I enjoyed talking to you, and you're asking very pointed questions. But at this juncture, I would like to say that there is something more to what I said.
Yes.
Because this discussion covered one broad spectrum.
Yes.
More at the philosophical level and understanding level. But then how do you operationalize? What do you do?
Right.
That is something which needs to be discussed so that we get more clarity on that. And once we have a blueprint of what we want to do, then we can go ahead and say, yes, please join us, let us be together for taking these ideas, taking this movement forward.
Yes. So if you have one good message for NRIs, I know it's not such easy to put in bullet point messages to people, but if you have a simple thing to tell NRIs, of course we put this conversation open-ended because I know I've realized in our conversation that this is not something first. Talking about the principles and philosophy itself will take some time, and then taking forward as a very strong notion into the people and how they can culminate and how they can regroup and how they can apply these principles in the success of a broader movement is a different story. But if you want to really put it straight, you want to imbibe some thought after this conversation, after this 45 minutes conversation, what would that be, sir?
Well, as far as I am concerned, I have seen there is a lot of energy, enthusiasm, talent, that is skills, commitment in the NRIs. Enormous. I bow myself in front of them for all the great talents they have. My question is, with all the kind of people, whether in India and here, why is the society going in the wrong direction? Why is it happening like that?
Right.
Is it not a challenge to all of you? Is it not even, I would say, a shame, I would say, that a corruption should take place in that country? So much of violence should be there in that country. Is there any possibility to think that we are responsible for that? Is there any element in us which is supporting or contributing to that violence, to that exploitation, that corruption in that society? Are we in any way responsible, even in a remote way? Are we linked to that, what is happening? So this is something I would say we should look internally into ourselves. What am I? Am I connected to those negative things that are happening in India, directly or indirectly? So it is this assessment will give you a clarity and a direction, and somebody need not come from India to give any sermons here.
Right.
You will discover, you will find what is the truth if you go forward on this path of truth.
Excellent.
And at this point of time, I would even suggest, yes, why don't you look at Gandhi? Because all questions you are asking today, Gandhi answered 100 years ago.
Right.
We need not reinvent the wheel.
Right.
So all this knowledge or all these things are available. Only thing is, if you just look at and do that.
Right.
So I would say, please study Gandhi. Organize some classes, study classes, wherein we can discuss more and more of this. So that I think that would give us more clarity to go forward. So that's what I would say at this juncture. I thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk to you and through you to the listeners.
No, really worth every second of this time, sir. And we almost lost relevance, and we almost forgot the fundamental principles. And as you mentioned, all the questions were answered 100 years back, but somehow in the process somebody has snubbed it down, or we didn't really take note of it, or as time passes by, people tend to forget. Something happened and we really missed this philosophy. I'm really happy you took your 45 minutes of your time explaining all of this.
But in the process, you made one more very interesting point.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody snubbed it. Though the knowledge is available, this information, this philosophy is available, somebody snubbed it.
Mm-hmm.
Who is that somebody? Study that.
Okay.
And for me, it is done deliberately.
Okay.
The younger generation
Mm-hmm.
kept away from Gandhi
Mm-hmm.
deliberately. I would say there is even a conspiracy
Okay.
in this direction. You said it.
Okay.
When you said it, I get strength and I reiterate that.
Okay. Definitely, sir. Definitely. And one final thing that you've mentioned very honestly is try to educate yourselves and try to make sure you talk about Gandhi. So we will try to see how best we could do that, and how we can loop back with you when the time and when that moment comes in. So thank you very much, Prasad Garu. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. I am so happy. Thank you.
Sir. Thank you. Bye.
friends, NRI Samay is a non-profit independent alternate media from Los Angeles, USA, which brings positive stories from grassroots activists from all corners of India and across the world. NRI Samay does not rely on corporate funding and our shows are commercial free. We only rely on your donations. Corporate funded media is driven by the TRP rating and profits are blurring the distinction between news and entertainment. Why do our news channels talk so much about cricket, movies, accidents, popular figures' personal lives, babies of heroines, gossips, etc., while they should be covering the struggles of people, inequality in our society, rural issues, and border security issues? Why did our media raise some corruption crusaders to the sky on one day and shut them off completely when graft charges were raised on those corporate sponsors? Media relies so much on the corporate funding and government blessings that they cannot report independently. NRI Samay is different. We don't accept funds from any corporations and hence our shows are commercial free. We completely rely on donations from you. Please consider donating to NRI Samay and please go to nrisamay.com and donate generously. This is the only way together that we can continue NRI Samay. All donations are kept transparent on nrisamay.com. And if you have any questions, please write to nrisamay@gmail.com. Friends, NRI Samay is a non-profit independent alternate media from Los Angeles, USA, which brings positive stories from grassroots activists from all corners of India and across the world. Among others, we focus on stories of need for equality, inspiration, environment, health, and politics. NRI Samay does not rely on corporate funding, and thus our shows are commercial free. We only rely on your donations. Please consider donating to NRI Samay, and all donations are kept transparent on nrisamay.com.